Most people still believe that learning a language is about talent. They say, "I'm just not good with languages." But that idea is wrong. Language learning is not a gift. It is a system you can design. I have spent almost 20 years studying how the brain picks up words, how it connects sound, meaning, and memory. And here is what I've learned. Success in language learning has very little to do with intelligence. It has everything to do with design, the way you manage memory. Your brain is not a sponge. It does not simply absorb words that float by. It is an engine that rewires itself every time it tries to remember. That moment when you reach for a word and almost forget it is when learning happens. We call this retrieval practice. If you read a word 10 times, you might remember it for a day. But if you test yourself once, fail, and try again, you will remember it much longer. Learning is not about getting it right. It is about the act of remembering. Most schools still teach against the rhythm of the brain. We cram, we binge, we expect results. And the more we cram, the faster we forget. Psychologists call this the spacing effect. You remember best when you recall something right before it fades away. That sweet spot between remembering and forgetting is where memory locks in. Some learning tools quietly follow that rule. Take Duolingo, for example. Most people think it is just a simple game with a green owl. But under the surface, there is an algorithm watching how fast you answer, where you hesitate, and when you forget. It brings a word back at the right time. That is not magic, it is engineering. And it happens to line up perfectly with how memory really works. When people tell me they are bad at languages, I tell them they have been studying against their brain. They have been fighting the very system that is supposed to help them. Once you work with it, everything changes. The brain does not learn by collecting words. It learns by losing and finding them again. Those little gaps of forgetting are not wasted time. They are glue. Every recall and every small struggle tells your brain, this matters, keep it. The future of language learning is not about bigger apps or perfect teachers. It is about designing your own feedback loop, one that makes you recall, rest, and rebuild. AI will play a role, but it is not the teacher. It is the mirror. It reflects how your memory works and helps you keep the rhythm. The science still comes first. Repetition, spacing, retrieval, rest. AI just amplifies that rhythm. So today I am declaring war on the myth of language talent. Language learning is not a mystery. It is architecture. And the blueprint is already inside your head. In the next part, we will look at that blueprint. We will see how neurons rebuild memories and how you can train your brain to speak a new language, not through obsession, but through design. Your brain does not store language. It rebuilds it every time you use it. When you recall a word, the brain does not open a drawer labeled vocabulary. It recreates that word from a web of sounds, meanings, and experiences. Each time you recall it, the network grows stronger. That is how learning really works. Not by downloading information, but by rebuilding connections. When you hear or learn a new word, the hippocampus acts like a temporary workbench. It tags that pattern as something important. But if you do not revisit the word, the tag fades. Your brain deletes it to save space. That is not failure. That is efficiency. To keep a memory alive, you must bring it back just before it disappears. That process is called retrieval. Every time you try to recall something, you strengthen the pathway. You drive the stakes deeper into the ground. Over time, the hippocampus lets go, and the word moves into long-term memory. That is how fluency begins. Forgetting is not the enemy. It is part of the system. Forgetting tells you when to remember again. That is the secret behind spaced repetition. If you review a word too soon, you waste energy. If you review it too late, it is gone. But if you catch it at the edge of forgetting, you lock it in. Learning is like tuning a musical instrument. You do not keep playing the same note forever. You wait until it drifts out of tune, then you bring it back. That moment of tension between remembering and forgetting is where real learning happens. Technology is beginning to mirror this rhythm. Modern learning systems can estimate your forgetting curve from your reaction time and accuracy. They can predict when a memory is about to fade and bring it back at the right moment. That is not consciousness. It is pattern recognition, and it works surprisingly well. But remember, no app can replace the feeling of retrieval. That small spark when you reach for a word and find it just in time. That effort is the signal that tells your brain to keep the memory. When you design your own study plan, think like an architect. Ask yourself when you will forget this and how you will make yourself recall it just before that. Structure your reviews like echoes that come back a little later each time. After a day, then 3 days, a week, 2 weeks. Each recall builds a stronger network. Emotion also matters. The brain keeps what it feels. You remember the phrase that made you laugh faster than the grammar rule you memorized in silence. Emotion is the stamp that says, keep this one. So make your learning emotional. Connect with people. Use jokes, mistakes, songs, real conversations. They are not distractions. They are memory glue. Learning is not about loading data into the brain. It is about moving with its natural rhythm. Recall, rest, emotion, repetition. So when you study, do not just open a textbook. Ask yourself which part of your brain you are training today. Are you feeding it or letting it rebuild? Because every recall, every pause, every emotion is another brick in the structure of your new language. In the next part, we will move from memory to sound. We will explore how the brain learns to hear before it can speak, and how new tools are reshaping that most mysterious skill of all, listening. Before you can speak a language, you have to learn how to hear it. Not just recognize words, but hear the differences your brain has been trained to ignore. Every newborn can hear almost every sound used in human languages, but by the time you are 1 year old, your brain starts specializing. It filters out the sounds that do not belong to your native language. That is efficient for survival, but terrible for learning a second language. It means that when you hear certain sounds, your brain says that is all the same. The good news is that the filter can be retrained, not through endless repetition, but through variation. Researchers call this high variability phonetic training. It means listening to the same sound in many different voices and contexts. A calm voice, a tired voice, a whisper, an accent. Each variation forces the brain to stop memorizing a single recording and start building a mental category for the sound itself. Studies show that this method can reshape how you hear within weeks. The more variety you hear, the more flexible your perception becomes. The brain stops imitating and starts abstracting. That is the real foundation of natural pronunciation. Today, technology makes this training easier than ever. Voice libraries, online recordings, and speech tools let you hear hundreds of real speakers. You do not need a classroom. You need diversity. Play the same sentence in 10 accents. Record yourself. Listen without looking at the text. Each attempt teaches your auditory system to separate signal from noise. But perception is not only in the ears, it is also in the mouth. When you try to pronounce a new sound, your motor cortex sends feedback to your ears. You literally hear yourself differently after you speak. That loop between the mouth and the ear is what recalibrates your sense of accuracy. That is why shadowing, tongue twisters, or pronunciation feedback work so well. They synchronize hearing and speaking. They train both the input and the output at once. No app can make you sound native overnight. Pronunciation is not decoration, it is coordination. You are rewiring the timing between the muscles of your mouth and your auditory map. That takes time, practice, and rest, but it works. Some of the most convincing studies use AI-assisted feedback. Learners mimic many different voices and get instant feedback on how close they are. The AI does not teach, it measures and nudges. Across dozens of studies, this approach shows consistent improvement in both perception and pronunciation. The key is always variability. So if you want to sound better, stop chasing the perfect accent. Expose yourself to messy, noisy, unpredictable speech. Let your brain struggle. That struggle is the training. When you study, Do not hunt for purity. Build a chorus of voices. Switch between news clips, podcasts, and street conversations. Repeat after them. Record yourself. Laugh at your mistakes. Every mismatch is an update to your system. Language learning begins in the ear, not the tongue. Your mouth only repeats what your brain has learned to notice, and your brain learns to notice what you allow yourself to hear. In the next part, we will move from wakefulness to rest, to the silent hours when the brain continues to learn in the dark. Because the most powerful language teacher of all may be the one you meet every night, your sleeping mind. While you sleep, your brain keeps working. It replays the sounds, the words, the mistakes, even the emotions from your day. It quietly decides what stays and what fades. If you have ever woken up remembering a word you forgot the night before, you have already met your sleeping teacher. Neuroscience calls this process memory consolidation. During deep sleep, the hippocampus replays recent experiences. Those ripples of activity reactivate the day's memories and send them toward long-term storage. In simple terms, you dream your way into fluency. Researchers have even learned to guide this process. In experiments, people hear faint audio cues during sleep. The sounds are words they studied earlier that day. Those who hear the cues remember the words more accurately the next morning. The brain rehearses language while dreaming. Sleep is not rest from learning. It is part of learning. If you want your brain to remember, give it time to file what it learned. A tired brain does not forget because it is weak. It forgets because it never had the chance to save the file. Now let us talk about technology. For the first time, machines are starting to behave a little like our sleeping minds. AI models constantly replay and update what they know. They adjust patterns the way neurons do when they consolidate memories. It is not consciousness, but the similarity is striking. Modern learning systems already use this principle. They track your answers and predict what you are about to forget. Then they bring that item back at the right time. They adapt to your rhythm, just as your hippocampus does when you sleep. You could say they are external memory loops. But AI is not a replacement for your own cycles. It should mirror them, not override them. A good AI tutor does not flood you with new material. It times your reviews, gives you space to rest, and invites you to recall at the perfect moment. Used well, it becomes the metronome of memory. Recent studies confirm this. Learners who used adaptive or conversational AI systems retained vocabulary longer. Not because AI explained better, but because it managed timing better. It kept practice and rest in balance. Still, there is a risk in outsourcing your rhythm completely. If you let AI do all the pacing, you stop listening to your own. Technology should enhance your rhythm, not replace it. Just as sleep and sound cues can enhance memory but cannot replace rest, AI can assist your study, but it cannot become your brain. Here is the natural design of a learning day. In the morning, you practice and recall. During the day, you test yourself briefly and take short breaks. In the evening, you review lightly and prepare your brain for sleep. At night, you rest and let consolidation do its quiet work. When you wake up, you recall again. That simple cycle turns one day of study into a complete loop of memory. The next frontier of learning is not humans versus machines. It is both, following the same biological law. Learn, rest, replay, evolve. When you close your eyes tonight, remember this. Every neuron that fires while you sleep is doing what AI tries to imitate. It is turning chaos into pattern and experience into language. And when you wake up, you will be ready for the next step, to design a day where that rhythm becomes your second nature. Learning a language is not about the hours you spend. It is about how you use time inside your brain's rhythm. One day can hold a complete learning cycle if you design it right. Let us start with the morning. Your brain is fresh, alert, and ready to recall. This is when you should do your most focused work. Practice listening and speaking. Use short sessions with active recall. Do not just review. Ask yourself questions. Try to explain what you learned yesterday without looking at your notes. That effort to retrieve is what strengthens memory. During the day, keep the rhythm alive. You do not need long study sessions. You need small echoes of practice, a few minutes between tasks, a short quiz while waiting for the train, a mental replay of yesterday's conversation while walking. These small recalls are the glue that connects learning moments. Spacing matters more than intensity. In the afternoon, the brain starts to slow down. This is the perfect time for low-pressure learning. Watch something in your target language, listen to a podcast, or use a chat app to write short messages. Do not aim for perfection. Aim for exposure. Let the language flow through your senses. The goal here is not memorization, but familiarity. It's how you train the brain to see the new language as normal. In the evening, you enter the preparation phase. Do a light review. Look at the words or sentences you struggled with. Read them once, maybe say them aloud. Then stop. Do not overload your brain before bed. You are setting up the material for consolidation. Think of it as planting seeds that will grow while you sleep. At night, sleep becomes part of the study plan. Your hippocampus replays the day, rehearsing the connections you used most often. If you studied efficiently, your brain will strengthen those networks automatically. If you cram too much, it will throw most of it away. So rest well. Good sleep is not a luxury. It is the second half of learning. The next morning, test yourself briefly. See what survived the night. You will notice that some things feel easier than yesterday. That is your brain showing you what it has kept. Review the difficult parts again, and the cycle begins anew. This daily loop, practice, recall, rest, and sleep, is not just routine. It is design, and design turns effort into results. You can think of your day like a piece of music. The morning is the rhythm. The day adds melody. The evening is harmony, and the night is silence that holds it all together. Without silence, there is no music. Without rest, there is no learning. Technology can help you keep the beat. Use reminders, adaptive apps, or AI chat partners, but let them follow your rhythm, not replace it. Use them to stay consistent, to test yourself, to hear diverse voices, and to measure progress. But never let them take over the natural pauses that your brain needs. If you build this rhythm into your life, language learning stops feeling like work. It becomes a living process. You are not forcing knowledge in. You are growing it day by day, cycle by cycle. In the next and final part, we will look at how to extend this design over 30 days and beyond, how to measure progress, and how to keep learning as a lifelong rhythm instead of a temporary project. You now know the rhythm. Learn, recall, rest, and sleep. The next step is to turn that rhythm into a routine you can live with. 30 days is a good start. It is long enough for your brain to adapt, but short enough to feel possible. Think of it as an experiment, not a challenge. You are not testing your willpower. You are testing your design. In the first week, your goal is awareness. Observe how you study. Notice when you have energy and when you do not. Track how much you remember the next day. This is your baseline. Do not judge it. Just watch the rhythm of your own mind. In the second week, start shaping that rhythm. Add short recall moments into your day. Use an app, a notebook, or even your thoughts during a walk. Ask yourself, what did I learn yesterday? If you can recall it, say it out loud. If you cannot, look it up and try again. This is how the spacing effect comes to life. In the third week, bring in interaction. Use your language. Chat with a partner or with an AI if that is what you have. Speak, make mistakes, correct yourself. Remember, conversation is not performance. It is feedback. It is how the brain tests and rebuilds what it knows. By the fourth week, you will begin to notice change. Words that once felt heavy will come faster. Your brain will start predicting meaning before you translate. That is fluency beginning to form. Keep your routine light but consistent. Do not aim for perfection. Aim for continuity, because consistency is what turns short-term memory into skill. At the end of 30 days, look back. Do not measure success by how many words you learned. Measure it by how steady your rhythm became. Did you manage to study without burning out? Did you rest without guilt? Did you wake up curious instead of tired? If yes, you have built something far more powerful than a vocabulary list. You have built momentum. From here, you can expand the cycle. Add deeper practice once or twice a week. Join conversations. Write small paragraphs. Keep using recall as your compass. Every few weeks, reset your goals. Learning a language is not a race. It is a lifestyle made of small, repeating victories. Technology can stay in the background as your partner. Let it remind you, test you, and show you progress. But remember, real growth still happens in your brain. AI can measure your rhythm, but it cannot feel your motivation. That part is yours. So here is the truth to carry with you. Language learning is not about talent, luck, or age. It is about rhythm and design. Your brain already knows how to learn. You just have to let it follow its natural flow. 30 days from now, you will not be fluent, but you will be fluent in learning. And that changes everything. Because once you learn how your brain learns, you can learn anything.